Hare Krishna. Yes. Uh, okay. And he gave lessons to the non-devotee party of Ravana. The principles of Vaishnavism are to satisfy the Lord by all means. A Vaishnava is by nature a non-violent, peaceful living being, and he has all the good qualities of God. But when the non-devotee blasphemes the Lord or his devotee, the Vaishnava never tolerates such impudency. After this incident, the Lord began to preach and propagate his Bhagavat Dharma, or Sankirtan movement, more vigorously. And whoever stood against this propagation of the Yuga Dharma, or duty of the age, was properly punished by various types of chastisement. Two Brahmin gentlemen named Chapal and Gopal, who also happened to be maternal uncles of the Lord, were inflicted with leprosy by way of chastisement. And later, when they were repentant, they were accepted by the Lord. In the course of his preaching work, he used to send daily all his followers, including Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Thakur Haridas, two chief whips of his party, from door to preach the Srimad Bhagavatam. All of Navadvip was surcharged with his Sankirtan movement, and his headquarters were situated at the house of Srivas Thakur and Sri Advaita Prabhu, two of his chief householder disciples. These two learned heads of the Brahmin community were the most ardent supporters of Lord Chaitanya's movement. Sri Advaita Prabhu was the chief cause for the advent of the Lord. When Advaita Prabhu saw that the total human society was full of materialistic activities and devoid of devotional service, which alone could save mankind from the threefold miseries of material existence, he, out of his causeless compassion for the age-worn human society, prayed fervently for the incarnation of the Lord and continually worshipped the Lord with water of the Ganges and leaves of the holy Tulasi tree. As far as preaching work in the Sankirtan movement was concerned, everyone was expected to do his daily share according to the order of the Lord. Once, Nityananda Prabhu and Srila Haridas Thakur were walking down a main road, and on the way they saw a roaring crowd assembled. Upon inquiring from passers-by, they understood that two brothers named Jagai and Madhai were creating a public disturbance in a drunken state. They also heard that these two brothers were born in a respectable Brahmin family, but because of low association, they had turned into debauchees of the worst type. They were not only drunkards, but also meat eaters, woman hunters, dacoits, and sinners of all description. Srila Nityananda Prabhu heard of all these stories and decided that these two fallen souls must be the first to be delivered. If they were delivered from their sinful life, then the good name of Lord Chaitanya would be even more still glorified. Thinking in this way, Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas pushed their way through the crowd and asked the two brothers to chant the holy name of Lord Hari. So just get the scenes, and there's this crowd because Jagai and Madhai, they're creating a whole spectacle disturbance, and there's a whole crowd of disturbed people. So Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, they're on Sankirtan. The purpose of Sankirtan is to give Krishna consciousness, to create transformation. So Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, they're thinking, okay, so if we can create transformation, if we can inspire transformation in these two, Jagai and Madhai, wow, then that will send such a powerful message about the power of Lord Chaitanya's mission. That even Jagai and Madhai, Prabhupada describes some details, and he goes on, and sinners of all description. So just to be clear, these were not like some naughty, mischievous fellows who sometimes got drunk and maybe stole an apple from the fruit cart or something. These were brutal, vicious. They were talking murder, rape. These were like really brutal fellows, and they were in the family. They were masquerading as Brahmins, which are like spiritual, intellectual leaders of society. So it's very, very degraded, and they were causing a lot of pain and misery. So that's where Nityananda and Haridas Thakur said, yeah, let's go there first. Okay, the drunken brothers became enraged upon this request and attacked Nityananda Prabhu with filthy language. Both brothers chased them a considerable distance. In the evening, the report of the preaching work was submitted to the Lord, and he was glad to learn that Nityananda and Haridas had attempted to deliver such a stupid pair of fellows. The next day, Nityananda Prabhu went to see the brothers, and as soon as he approached them, one of them threw a piece of earthen pot at him. This struck him on the forehead, and immediately blood began to flow. But Nityananda Prabhu was so kind that instead of protesting this heinous act, he said, it does not matter that you have thrown this stone at me. I shall request you to chant the holy name of Lord Hari. So they approached Jagai and Madhai in their drunken, violent state again. So then Madhai, just like he threw the pot at him, and the jagged edge caused an injury with bleed. So Nityananda, again, it's very, very, very Christ-like, he's just like Nityananda is, yes, okay, whatever, just please chant Hare Krishna, please chant Hare Krishna. One of the brothers, Jagai was not quite as hard-hearted and vicious. One of the brothers, Jagai, was astonished to see this behavior of Nityananda Prabhu, and he at once fell down at his feet and asked him to pardon his sinful brother. So when Jagai saw Nityananda's saintly response, truly saintly, then Jagai thought, like, oh, okay, we've made a really bad mistake here. Yeah, and so there's transformation happening for Jagai. When Madhai again attempted to hurt Nityananda Prabhu, Jagai stopped him and implored him to fall down at his feet. In the meantime, the news of Nityananda's injury reached the Lord, who at once hurried to the spot in a fiery and angry mood. The Lord immediately invoked his Sudarshan chakra, the Lord's ultimate weapon shaped like a wheel, to kill the sinners. But Nityananda Prabhu reminded him of his mission. The mission of the Lord was to deliver the hopelessly fallen souls of Kali Yuga, and the brothers Jagai and Madhai were typical examples of these fallen souls. 90% of the population of this age resembles these brothers, despite high birth and mundane respectability. According to the verdict of the revealed scriptures, the total population of the world in this age will be of the lowest Shudra quality or even lower. It should be noted that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never acknowledged the stereotyped caste system by birthright. Rather, he strictly followed the verdict of the Shastras in the matter of one's Swarup, or real identity. When the Lord was invoking his Sudarshan chakra and Srila Nityananda Prabhu was imploring him to forgive the two brothers, both the brothers fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord and begged his pardon for their gross behavior. The Lord was also asked by Nityananda Prabhu to accept these repenting souls, and the Lord agreed to accept them on one condition, that they henceforward completely give up their sinful activities and habits of debauchery. Both the brothers agreed and promised to give up all their sinful habits, and the kind Lord accepted them and did not again refer to their past misdeeds. This is the specific kindness of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, no one can say that he is free from sin. It is impossible for anyone to say this, but Lord Chaitanya accepts all kinds of sinful persons on the one condition that they promise not to indulge in sinful habits after being spiritually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master. There are a number of instructive points to be observed in this incident of the two brothers. In this Kali Yuga, practically all people are of the quality of Jagai and Madhai. If they want to be relieved from the reactions of their misdeeds, they must take shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and after spiritual initiation, thus refrain from those things which are prohibited in the Shastras. The prohibitory rules are dealt with in the Lord's teachings to Srila Rupa Goswami. Let's pause there. Okay, so we read some parts of the Jagai Madhai pastime. So we know in Krishna's Leela, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's changing hearts, and he continues to do so, transformation of consciousness. Bhagavad Gita, it's all about transformation of heart. And also Krishna's pastimes, it includes, maybe we've noticed, lots of killing demons. There's lots of that. And the demons get liberated. Okay, that's good. So when Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahayanya, so Lord Chaitanya is a combined incarnation, a combined avatar of Radha and Krishna combined. Prabhupada use the word incarnation. In one sense, incarnation in English means like carnate in a physical body. So we shouldn't have that misconception. So Lord Chaitanya's mission is, it's like he's not killing demons. He's not killing demons. He's killing the demon in our hearts and transforming that which is toxic and alienating and vicious and lust and greed and transforming that to the sweetness of love of Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya's mission specifically is not killing demons. So after Madhai threw the pot at Nityananda, and then Lord Chaitanya got word that Nityananda was bleeding from the forehead and he was injured, Lord Chaitanya forgot his mission. He forgot his mission. I mean, he's Krishna himself. How could he forget? But he forgot his mission. So he appeared on the scene with his chakra. That's the disc that like chases Dharasa Muni around the cosmos and things like that. So this disc was the most, right? Vishnu has 4 symbols. There's the chakra in the club to deal with the non-devotee sector. And then there's the lotus and the conch to inspire the devotees. So Lord Chaitanya appeals with a truck just about to destroy Jagai and Madhai. And then Lord Nityananda, as we just read, he grabs Lord Chaitanya's ankles and he says, remember your mission. You're not killing demons in this mission. But that's what happened. So Lord Chaitanya, he was just so enraged that someone would injure and be so offensive and violent to his spiritual brother Nityananda. He was so enraged, he forgot that in this mission, you're not killing demons, remember? Okay, so Lord Nityananda succeeded to pacify Lord Chaitanya. And then this is real history, and it's representative that like, okay, whatever, we all have our past from years and decades ago, or maybe from yesterday or the day before. We all have, right, like that. We all have, our Jagai and Madhai-like histories. Okay, and then in the spirit of Sarvadaman Prityagya Mame Kam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarvapapebhyo Makshayishami Mashucha. As Krishna says, just surrender to me, I shall deliver you from all this past karma, with one sincerely surrenders. So that was the mission of Nityananda and Haridas Thakur on Sankirtan. That like, okay, the Jagai and Madhai, they were transformed, and they felt lots of remorse. I mean, again, their transgressions were not like light. They really harmed. They really did a lot of. They caused a lot of grief and suffering, and they did experience. So they were very sincere in their transformation. It wasn't just like, okay, Lord Chaitanya, I believe in you. Am I saved? It was like very deep catharsis. Okay, I mean, we're just getting a summary, but it was deep catharsis. Lots of remorse and shame in a healthy, cathartic way, not in a wallowing, grungy way. And then Jagai and Madhai, they became just like Nityananda and Haridas Thakur going out on Sankirtan. Their only pure mission is to give us transcendental, transformational knowledge to change our lives. So then Jagai and Madhai, they became Sankirtan devotees. Their whole mission was to serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya and Radha Krishna. So it's such a transformation. So we can look at that because we can get into, well, I'm too fallen. We can get this, I'm too fallen. I'm too this or that. Like, you don't know what I did. I mean, we can all go to places like that. At least I can, and I know many of us can. I don't know if all. Yeah, that I'm too fallen like that, and so that's why Prabhupada often cites. Here he describes in a few pages. He cites the example of Jagai and Madhai, that Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Kodaya More Toma Bina Kedayalu Jagat Samsare Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara Mosama Patita Napai Bela Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhe Kripa Balo Kanakoro Ami Borodoki. That Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, that's exactly their mission. Like who wrote this? Like Narottam Das Thakur. So Narottam Das Thakur, of course, he's this completely saintly person, but seeing himself is very low. And he's saying, your mission is to save the most fallen. Okay, so I'm first in line. I'm qualified because I'm a shameful wretch. So I'm qualified. Of course, he's Narottam Das Thakur is not a shameful wretch, but he's feeling that way. So there's no excuses. I'm too fallen to take to Krishna consciousness. Sorry to take away the excuses, but so that's like a theme of the Jagai and Madhai pastime with Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur. And so this is the compassion of a Vaishnav heart. Sometimes there's misunderstandings, right? That like, okay, well, you're into like transcendental chanting. Yeah, but what about really caring for people in a real way? So Prahlad Maharaj describes the Vaishnav heart as paradukkha dukhi. Feeling the pain of others is our own pain. Deep empathy for the suffering, and not in a sentimental way, not in a, like deep compassion, deep empathy, and knowledge of how to relieve people from their suffering, from their pain. Okay, so Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda, you can see even the Jagai and Madhai, they were such brutal, vicious, violent fellows. And Haridas Thakur and Nityananda, they felt empathy and compassion for them. Well, they must be suffering. Well, we know when someone acts in really terrible ways, we might get angry, this and that, but you know, they're in a lot of pain. What's that?
Help people.
Hurt people. Yeah, so yeah, they must be hurting deeply. So they had so much compassion, and they knew how to relieve them of their compassion. Okay. Chant Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. They had the knowledge and the process. So that's Prabhupada often cites the example of Jesus. It just says here, Nityananda sacrificed his body for us, because for Jagai and Madhai, and he had a bigger vision, rather more bigger than just these two brothers. That while Jagai and Madhai are transformed to being sweet, gentle-hearted devotees, wow, that's going to inspire the whole world, and it did. And so Prabhupada cites Jesus in the same way, fully sacrificing from that spirit of compassion. Prahlad Maharaj, by his own father, Prahlad was given poison. He was attempted to be harmed and killed in many ways, and Prahlad continued to chant Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Arjanam Dasyanam Arjanam Bandhanam Dasyam Sakyamatma Nivedanam. He continued to be absorbed in Krishna Krishna. With full and that's Prahlad Maharaj. So then Nrsingadev comes. That's the whole pastime in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Nrsingadev comes and takes care of the wasp-like demon Hiranyakashipu. Tabakara Kamalavare Nakam Madbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshava Dvita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. And then Nrsingadev is offering to Prahlad, yes, how Prahlad is so dear to Lord Nrsingadev. Even Goddess Lakshmi and Lord Brahma and Shiva, all these great personalities who are very great devotees. But Lord Nrsingadev was in a because he was so enraged, just like Lord Chaitanya is enraged that Madhai would harm Nityananda. So Lord Nrsingadev was enraged that Hiranyakashipu would harm Nrsingadev's dear devotee Prahlad. So he was in this full ferocious raging mood. And it's like even Lakshmi herself and Brahma, but then they sort of pushed Prahlad forward. He seems to like you. Maybe you can something. So Prahlad was fearless and came, yes. And then Prahlad emphasized that, like, my relationship with you is not business. It's not like I serve you and then you give me something, you give me liberation, or you give me a kingdom. I'm not doing devotional service for business. Prahlad Maharaj says, I don't want to be liberated until everyone in the material world is liberated. That's the mood. That's the mood of an advanced Vaishnav. Prabhupada mentions here when he said that Lord Chaitanya was not a pacifist. Devotees, Vaishnavas, they are peaceful. The devotional heart is peaceful. Truly not wanting to step on an ant unnecessarily, not wanting to harm a fly. And at the same time, Lord Chaitanya was certainly ready to get ferocious when it came to defending his dear devotee and associate, Lord Nityananda. So you can see with like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, gentle-hearted Vaishnava. Bhaktisiddhanta is the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, and he was known as the Lion Guru. If we get to know Prabhupada, whether through his purports or lectures, Prabhupada could be soft as a rose and hard as a thunderball. Prabhupada, in the same spirit, he had a very nice transcendental life in Sri Vrindavan Dham at the Samadhi of Rupa Goswami, constructed by Jiva Goswami at Radha Damodar Temple in Vrindavan. He had no needs for himself. This is the key point. And he sacrificed his body. He sacrificed everything in the same mood as Prahlad Maharaj, Jesus, the Pandavas, Lord Nityananda, Haridas Thakur, and he sailed on the Jaladuta. That's the Vaishnava compassion. That's the Vaishnava compassion. He had two, we can imagine, indescribably painful heart attacks on the way, on the Atlantic, and he's completely fixed in his mission. Dhiras tatra namuyati. A devotee is not disturbed by the disturbances. So Lord Nityananda is physically injured. Of course, his body's transcendental. That's another discussion. But he's physically injured. He's not disturbed. So this is the compassionate, empathic heart of a Vaishnav we can aspire for. I think it's important maybe to make a distinction. This is not like, it's not like, oh, well, I have a lot of self-loathing and I really struggle with unworthiness and lack of self-respect. So I guess that means I'm a saint like Nityananda too. So there's a distinction here. Okay, there's a distinction here. So that, well, a distinction we often make is that this Lord Chaitanya's verse, perhaps the most well-known verse in the Shikshastakam, Trinada Pisu Nichina Turoi Basa Hishnuna Amani Namana Dena Kirtanya Sadahari. Lord Chaitanya encourages us to feel lower than the blade of grass, be more tolerant than a tree, desiring no respect for oneself, ready to give all respect to others. In this state of mind, Kirtanya Sadahari, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So again, this is not like, in a material sense, have low self-worth or like that. This is about getting off our material ego, to surrender as spirit souls, Jivara Srupoi Krishnera Nichidas, as to surrender to our natural original position spiritually as servants of Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, Jesus, Srila Prabhupada, Radha Krishna. To surrender that means that we give up our material ego. And that surrender, that is glorious. That's the glorious position of the spirit soul. That's glorious. And that means we completely give up demanding respect for I, me, and mine. We completely give up demanding respect for I, me, and mine. In the ahankara, false ego sense. So, so Lord Chaitanya here, this isn't about him, but or let's take the Pandavas, Arjuna and the Pandavas. They were very saintly. They gave up, even though they had a right to the kingdom, they gave it up like that. And then Arjuna got that, okay, not for me. Like the reference point isn't about, I want a kingdom. I don't need a kingdom. The reference point is, okay, let me serve Krishna. Because Krishna had come to the point there where it's just like, okay, yeah, you Pandavas for 14 years, you've traveled out in the forest and but the people are suffering. The people are being exploited. So Krishna's like, now it's time to be fierce, to protect something dear. And that which is most dear is devotional service. So even, again, we don't want to imitate these pastimes. We can aspire for the mood and the qualities. So even if someone's attacking us or our home, like that, like this devotional consciousness is to come to realize, well, actually, this is not me. So, right, I'm not being attacked. Nainam Chidanti Shastrani, Nainam Dati Pavaka. The soul cannot be slashed by weapons or burned by fire or withered by the wind or moistened by water. This is just my body. It's my vehicle. We can go further, peel off another leg. It's not my body. This is actually Lord Chaitanya's body. This is actually Krishna. It's all Krishna's energies. I'm renting it, but it's not mine. I don't own it. And so, like, yeah, we can go deeper than that. So at one point, Sanatana Goswami, it was in a deep suffering physical condition. And he was thinking to give up his body. And then Lord Chaitanya could read his mind. And Lord Chaitanya said, like, what makes you think you even have the right to do that? It's not your body. It's mine. And I have big plans for you to use that body. And I have big plans for you to use that body to spread the Sankirtan mission. So we can see that, like, we're essentially in that spirit, we're defending devotional service, right? It's like if someone wants to steal money or injure the body or even break into the home. Like, we can cultivate the mentality. We don't want to artificially pretend we have that realization, but we can aspire in that direction. That like, well, yeah, this money, this vehicle, this home, this body, this mind is meant for glorious things in devotional service to Prabhupada's movement. And so I'm willing to be fierce to protect devotional service. I'm willing to be fierce. So this is a very strong, glorious position. It's not material, grungy, wallowing in low self-worth. Okay? That sort of material, grungy, wallowing in shame, low self-worth, that alienates the self from self-realization and from the joy of serving Lord Chaitanya's mission, serving Nityananda Prabhu. Just and there, okay, like let's say, even as far as, let's say, material self-esteem, just even in the material self, sometimes, yeah, depending on where we're at and what our growth process is, it's important to focus there, lest we do some sort of spiritual bypass, right? So like if someone is that could be sattvic, and to so even if we're defending and there is some material or a lot of material I me mine, that well, I heard a quote attributed to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He said for some of my disciples, it would be a great achievement to come to the mode of passion. So meaning rather than like wallowing in tamasic, low self-esteem, ignorance, which leads to further degradation materially and spiritually, just to come even to some material respectability, and even if it's just like I, me, mine, but it's actually a higher mode of nature as a platform for coming to truly saintly transcendence. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for your presence. And I welcome at this time any questions, comments, discussion, inspirations, realizations. Malini.
I appreciate what you were saying and imagining Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciple being in a mode of ignorance.
Okay.
Somehow feels really encouraging.
You feel encouraged.
I'm thinking like in those times, nobody will be in ignorance, and all the people who take the spiritual path are pure devotees. So there is something encouraging there.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was thinking about what you were saying about the low self-worth and the loathing. And it seems that the low self-worth and the loathing is quite the opposite of humility, in the sense that it seems that we do that to protect the false identification.
Yeah.
To protect the false ego.
Yeah.
Not to burn it, but to protect it. Yeah. To hold on to it. Like I am that person and I should be doing those things.
And
I'm kind of God, but or God-like, but look, I'm not matching, but I want to hold on to that false identification.
Yeah, I'm looking bad, but I want to look good, and it's all about the image.
It's all about protecting our false identification, false ego, really. And there is an aspect of Lord Nityananda that maybe if you feel inspired to speak about Lord Nityananda being the Adigu, like the prime spiritual master.
Yeah.
And how is that true? And how do we approach Lord Nityananda?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Melanie. Yeah. That's the idea. Like, we hear a quote from Bhaktisiddhanta. It's not our role to become in any way critical of Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples. That's not what the point is, to to take it, and we can feel encouraged, just like, we hear these statements, and then we can say, oh, okay, all right. Let me take my experience of motive ignorance and let that move me to more enthusiasm for devotional service. Responsibility. The path to sainthood goes through adulthood. So that's kind of the principle here. So Nityananda, he's the Adi Guru. He's the original guru. That he's just like Krishna. Krishna's first expansion is Balaram, and so Nityananda is Balaram. So we go to Krishna through his expansion. So in that sense, Lord Nityananda is the Adi Guru. There's a lot described about that. Fifth chapter of Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's the essence, that basically we approach Krishna through his pure expansions. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And Krishna's first expansion is Balaram and Nityananda. Not even that Nityananda is an incarnation of Balaram. Nityananda is Balaram.
There's no difference from Balaram.
Yeah. And so that's a key principle, because there could be, it's one of those ironic achintya beta beta tattva, simultaneous one and difference. Well, yeah, I had this conversation with a client recently that she was saying, like, well, I want like God directly, which is natural. I want God directly to, I don't know who Prabhupada is, I want God directly, like that. So simple example Prabhupada gives, just like I can say, I want a direct relationship with the print on this page. I want a direct relationship. So I really can't read a word here.
You're getting old.
20 years ago, I could read every word clearly. That means that this body's subject to Jira, old age. So in a sense, it's true, right? In a sense, it's true. These glasses are between my eyes and the book. In a sense, it's true. And at the same time, these glasses enhance my direct relationship with the print on the page. So that's the guru principle. They're blocking me from God. But by going through the proper system, through the pure, of course, if we have a false guru and there's so much cheating in the name of guru and spirituality and yoga, then things become even blurrier. And we might think they're getting clearer. So that's not helpful. But if we go through the proper system, in a sense, they are between us and Krishna, and they enhance our direct relationship.
Because they are transparent via media.
Transparent via media.
Because if you were to put some things that's different than real glasses, like the gurus, that's what they are.
Right.
There are some things that look like glasses, but they are no glasses, and you don't see better.
Yeah.
They are like tinted glasses.
Yeah. So thanks for that aspect of. There's so many aspects of Lord Nityananda.
Foggy glasses.
With foggy, or you can put glue or different paper. Yes. Kaleidoscope glasses.
Very
Yeah.
exactly.
Very
Yeah.
entertaining.
Yeah. Before coming to Prabhupada's books, I think I looked through some kaleidoscope type glasses. Yeah. So so thanks. So there's so many aspects to Lord Nityananda's personality, person, body, all non-different. And so he's the Adi Guru. He's the Adi Guru. Because he's Krishna's first expansion. So everything goes through Nityananda.
And also an aspect that recently I read about Lord Balaram, and Nityananda, is that he's God, is no different than Krishna.
Yeah.
Balaram is no different than Krishna.
Yeah.
And Lord Nityananda is no different than Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah.
However, it's Krishna choosing, or Lord Nityananda choosing to be a servant.
Yeah.
To have that rasa, to have that experience.
Yeah.
And then, of course, because of that, then it teaches us our constitutional position as servant of Krishna.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So Nityananda is the Adi Guru, and he's the prime servant of Lord Chaitanya, and showing us how to do it. And of course, with Nityananda's pastimes, we want to follow his spirit and not imitate some of the details. Not imitate some of the, because he has a particular personality, like Balaram also had a particular personality. And that's why Abhi recommended we focus on Jagai and Madhai, because this is just his straight, amazing, heartfelt compassion. So, we can take that into our life. Maybe a little harder to think how to take the breaking the sannyas rod into our life. A little more difficult. But this one, just compassion, like, okay, let's not be artificial and all that. And at the same time, let's grow ourselves to deeper Vaishnava compassion. Yeah, what more could I do, from where I am, maybe a bit, to share this transcendental wisdom and process with others through kirtan, through sublime transcendental philosophy, through distributing prasad, through just being available, through not being scared, to share with people. I chant Hare Krishna. Yeah, I read Prabhupada's books. Because sometimes we don't need to share, and it's not about convincing or persuading. Sometimes it's just like, yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, I stand with the Bhakti yogis. I'm into it. Just having the courage to admit that, powerful. We don't even know. I'm trying to convince you, oh, you're so insecure in yourself, you need to get, no. Just, here's what I do. I chant about at least 2 hours per day on japa beads. If you're interested, I'll share. Just that we stand there, and they say, okay, well, it's a fad you're going through this week, right? That's it. 2 years later, you're still doing that. And I see it works for you. Yeah, I'm suffering. You're pretty peaceful and happy. Could you show me that japa thing? It's powerful.
Thanks for that.
Thank you, Lord.
Hare Krishna.
Ladini Shakti.
So I have 2 questions. Well, first of all, I am really happy that you chose the Jagai Madhai pastime. Like when you were like there was the dramatic pause, like what pastime? I was like playing Jagai Madhai. So that was great. And my question, like when does Haridas Thakur have time for preaching? Because he's chanting so much. And so in my mind, he has no time for preaching.
Okay.
But in this pastime, obviously he does that. And then second question, that's like Malini asked about like Nityananda Prabhu being the guru. And today I read that we should have personal relationship with Lord Nityananda. Otherwise, we cannot approach Radha Krishna. And so like, what does it practically mean to have like personal relationship with Lord Nityananda? And it seems to me that we should have like personal relationship with so many personalities. And isn't it like that, like relationship with Srila Prabhupada is sufficient, or like, where like, what's the practical like personal relationship with Lord Nityananda?
Okay. Thank you, Ladini Shakti, and I guess that's Sachi with you. Of course, his name.
Yes, Sachi's here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Everyone says Hare Krishna to Sachi, but no one to me. That's great.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. So, I don't have like special insight into Haridas Thakur's schedule. Calculation, I think it comes to like he's chanting like at least like 172 rounds per day or something. But if we look at it, if we look at how can he do that and sleep 8 or 9 hours like I do, and 3 or 4 times a day, take a prasadam break with snacks? How is it possible? So we need to get out of that paradigm and yeah, we can imagine he's, yes, yes, that he's, Ramachandra made it, but Haridas Thakur has his, later in the timeline. So maybe it was after the Navadvip pastimes that he made his vow. But even if we look at the vow, let's
the opposite.
Or before.
Yeah, when he was young,
When
that's
he was
where he made the vow,
Yeah.
like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for
Yeah.
10 years, that's all he did, he chanted.
Yeah.
And my understanding of Haridas Thakur was like that. And then he was in Navadvip preaching in his older years.
Yeah.
And then he finished his pastime in Jagannath Puri, where he again spent all his time chanting in his old age.
Yeah. And then at one point, that makes sense. And at one point, Lord, because Haridas Thakur was feeling the effects of old age and about to leave his body, and he was depressed. And Lord Nityananda said, "Why are you depressed? What's the problem?" And Haridas Thakur says, "The problem is I can't finish my rounds." And then Lord Nityananda said, "You can chant less rounds. It's okay.
You don't need to chant rounds."
Yeah. So, but even in terms of, let's say if he chanted 15 hours per day, and between resting, eating, and bathing, it's another hour and a half, 2, right? Like these personalities, resting an hour or 2. So maybe, so even in that scenario, 6, 7, 8 hours per day on Sankirtan.
It's very doable.
Very doable. very, very, very doable.
It really is.
It really is doable. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I heard from Abi.
Well, 172 rounds is, by my calculation, is more like 22 hours.
Yeah. So Haridas Thakur might be, 14, 15 hours. So that's the thing. We need to get out of the 9 dots of our calculations. He knows someone in India who was doing 120 rounds per day, and he worked full time for the airlines. That sort of thing. You might know the same personality. So, yeah. So it means it means giving up what's precious to us, eating and sleeping. Okay.
I know more than a few householders.
Yeah.
With big families that chant a lot, like 64 rounds per day.
Yeah.
And have full-time jobs and full family.
Do they chant at work?
No, they generally chant. Well, I think varies from what I've asked, which mainly in the morning and then in the evening.
Yeah, but it's 2 a.m. When do they go to sleep?
Well, that's the thing. It generally requires reducing sleeping and eating pretty significantly. And we say, but then the idea is that when one's getting the taste, it's not a have to. Like I get to chant 64 rounds. For Haridas Thakur, I get to chant 172 rounds. It's not a have to. Then the soul's awakened. The soul doesn't need eating, sleeping, or sex. It's an important point. Okay. To the extent that we're
defending.
Or defending. Yeah, because the soul is unbreakable. The soul can't be stopped. So we don't want to imitate that. We don't want to neglect our sleeping and eating and then get sick and then we can't chant at all because we're too sick and that sort of thing. But yeah, with taste, like I'm sure those households, they look forward, I get to get up at 2:30 a.m., chant 64 rounds and then be responsible for my family.
Yeah, when do they play with their kids? Feed their kids?
Well,
the wife does all that.
the idea is,
Playing with the kids is really so Western.
Yeah. What do they? Okay. What do you do with them?
You discipline them.
That takes time too. Okay.
well, yeah, I think the idea is not to focus on them, but we can focus on us, right? So what are we making more important than chanting 16 rounds per day? Because we can think of how do they have what are we making more important than reading Srimad Bhagavatam 15 minutes per day? Okay. So related to these sharings though, when Prabhupada came to the West and he first started establishing according to time and circumstance, Prabhupada's standard was, okay, so my followers, if you're serious, 64 rounds per day. In New York, 66. So then he had sincere followers and they came to Prabhupada and they said, no way. They were thinking, because Prabhupada was coming from a particular paradigm and he could see like, whatever, we can talk about transcendence and clear intention, but they were like, no, Prabhupada, I just want, no. So he said, okay, 32. They came back and said, no. So Prabhupada was, okay, 16 minimum. Of course, it's all in the context. If we chant one Hare Krishna Maha mantra in our lifetime, that's wonderful, that's glorious. If we chant one round per day, that's wonderful. And at the same time, Prabhupada's giving at least 16 rounds per day, if like each day you want to kind of make some serious progress out of the ocean of material suffering and towards eternal life. Like if you really want to make progress, then, so there's no force. But he said, if you're going to be serious, okay, at least 16. But he did start at 64. He did start, and that's where his spiritual master came from, Bhaktisiddhanta. And then, well, as far as direct relationship with personalities, yeah. So I mean, it's all that, it's the glass, it's the telescope with the lenses, right? The glasses enhance my direct relationship. So of course we want to develop a direct relationship with Lord Nityananda. And the way to do that is just what we're doing this morning. So we're reading Prabhupada's books about Lord Nityananda. So in a sense, we go to Lord Nityananda through our current link to the Parampara, Srila Prabhupada. And by going through Prabhupada, we enhance our direct relationship with Nityananda. I feel confident to say that in the past 60 minutes, everyone here has deepened and enhanced our direct relationship with Lord Nityananda. How did we do it? By going through Srila Prabhupada. Same, now we could do that every day. Today's a special day to especially enhance our hearing and chanting about Nityananda. So say like on Radhastami, Radharani's appearance day, we read from Prabhupada, hear from Prabhupada about Radharani. We enhance our direct relationship with Radharani by going through our current link to the Parampara, Srila Prabhupada. Last week was Advaitacharya's appearance day, same principle. In a few weeks is Gaura Praneet, Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, same principle.
Hare Krishna, thank you. That helps.
Thank you, Ladini Shakti.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so these, again, for those who choose to follow, it's recommended fast till half day, means fast till noon. And the idea of fasting is not, I'm not eating. The idea of fasting is, okay, less time taking care of the body and more time to hear and chant, extra rounds, more reading about Lord Nityananda. And just reflecting on the previous discussion, because even for most people, even some people who connect with Prabhupada, the idea of 16 rounds per day, or let's say a 5-hour morning program every day or most days per week. Yeah, for most people, it would be like, how do you have time for any, you must be no time to play with your kids. No, really, it would be like that. But then with clear intention, we handle all our responsibilities responsibly, and we clear time for sadhana. Thank you, Faina. Jai Shri Nityananda. Thank you. Yes, and I definitely found that the more I increase my sadhana, the more time I have for everything else that's important, including playing with my kids and going canoeing. Okay. Martin Luther, Martin Luther, who started the Protestant Reformation. You're probably familiar with this quote. He like wrote 200 books. He was prolific, started a whole Reformation. And he was asked, how do you accomplish so much? And he said, if I didn't pray to God at least 3 hours each morning, I wouldn't have time for everything else. So I've literally experienced, because I've had times where my sadhana is less, and then, okay, but then you have more time for other. When my sadhana is less, I accomplish less in other areas. It's a direct correlation.
Yeah.
When I increase my sadhana, I accomplish more in every other area of life. That's important. Because when my sadhana is less, then I have more space in my mind for nonsense. And then
It's wasting time.
I'm wasting time. And once I waste 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm on that slippery slope. And it's like, where did that 10 hours go? Whereas my sadhana is increased, full, conscious, then like, I don't want to waste a moment.
When I walk in my neighborhood, I see everybody watching TV.
Yeah.
And I always ask myself the same question. Where do people find time to watch TV? People spend so much time watching TV, and it's mind-boggling for me. Where do they find time to watch TV?
Thanks for that. Anandini.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I while you were speaking, I was thinking like this. I see in myself how I spend a lot of time, like defending, for example, not externally with actions, but in my mind.
Yeah.
Like I had a conflict with a person, and so for a long, like for a week, I was not speaking to the person, but in my mind. And I spend so much time, and it's like a new realization for me that, or a new understanding that also what I do with my mind, it takes time. And I never thought it was possible for me to chant 16 rounds while having children, small children. And then like making that commitment, I made the commitment just for a few weeks, just an experiment. And it was amazing how much more time I had. And I think it's because on the subtle level, on the mind, I was spending or wasting less time.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Anandini. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when you first started chanting, then and your children are still very young, and they were really small children then, and you thought, oh, that's impossible. But then I really like that. Sometimes, not often, but once or twice a year, I'll do something like, for 2 weeks, I'm going to chant 25 rounds per day. And my schedule between, seminars and coaching and correspondence and papers and writing coach training, like 9 extra rounds. There's no time for that. But just 2 weeks, I'm going to do it. And those 2 weeks, clear, not wasting time on internet. And then I'm not just more productive, but my production, whether it's interpersonally or in my writing, it's at a higher level.
So why don't you keep doing it?
I don't like that question.
Yeah. But you sound so alive and like purposeful.
Next question. Okay, like.
Yeah, you
I want to put a mirror. Use the mirror and pull that one.
Yeah, having a mirror would be a good idea.
What?
A mirror.
Mirror? Mirror.
We can just be with that. Okay,
The mirror. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Okay.
in what we read, Prabhupada used the term "stupid fellow" to refer to Jagai and Madhai.
Yeah, indeed.
So I'll say, because I'm a stupid fellow. That's my response. Actually, I don't have a better response than that. Yeah, so that's a symptom of a sincere devotee, avyarta kalatvam, which means doesn't want to waste a moment outside of devotional service. We sometimes say, we have all the time in the world and not a moment to lose. So that's the essence of that, is bhakti yoga. Because like so often, like when we're in the midst of these programs, and it's like, let's just extend this morning program another 10 hours. What else is there to do? Let's read more about Lord Nityananda. And let's do that 12-hour. We have all the time in the world for what's vital for nourishing the soul, and not a moment to lose in nonsense wasting time. Laura.
I just have a comment, more of like a pearl. I liked what you said, protecting our devotional service.
Yeah.
And it kind of opened my mind to think about some other tasks, and using that as like the understanding of protecting my devotional service. That's all. Just thank you.
Thanks for that, Laura. Yeah, that's something that, I mean, for me, it gets the essence of that integration of assertiveness and humility. Humility, in one sense, means I know my position, I know my role. And sometimes that role might be to be meek and humble in the background. Sometimes that role might be to be challenging and fierce, right? To help wake someone up, you know, in the spirit of Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, trying to wake up Jagai and Madhai. And so, yeah, so like that's the spiritual platform. That, okay, someone insulted my ego. Okay, as David Wolf, okay, my spiritual process, let me try to tolerate that without being disturbed and go into defense and I'll attack you back, okay? At the same time, if someone's trying to interfere with the service in the name of humble, passive, humble, saintly, yeah, just let them destroy the service. No, Lord Chaitanya wasn't ready. He wasn't willing to let them harm Nityananda. So we're ready to be lion-like to protect the service. So that moved you. Thank you.
One other thing to say. Actually, just want to thank Nandini. Thank you for what you said about defending. Because in my mind, I was like, what is defending? Like, I'm not defending my life.
Yeah.
So you kind of gave me a great example of defending, because I can really relate, defending in my mind with situations or things where I get entangled in defending or something. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm not punching people, but I'm defending like all the time.
Protecting.
Right. That's it, because like defense can be defending the respect I should get, defending my position. I'm right. It's being right? Being right, and I'll defend like means I'm not interested in the truth here. I'm not interested in enhancing self-realization and softening heart and coming closer to God, but I'm interested that you get that I'm right. It's the same as the tiger defending with its claws. Ramachandra.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Happy Nityananda's Appearance Day. Kind of felt like being a bit vulnerable after hearing Callie's question to Dhira, why won't you chant more? I remember before I did Sattva Tov, I was chanting extra 8 rounds a day, and I realized that some part of me was doing that to escape things, like responsible material living. And now that I'm not chanting any extra rounds, I'm still seeing that I'm escaping different material responsibilities. It just feels very miserable.
Thanks for your vulnerable sharing. Thank you. Yeah, so I shared about chanting extra rounds and talking about some who chant so many more than 16. For them, it's not extra. Their commitment might be 64. Yeah, and that's why, you know, like the 16 is a good reference. You know, 16 is a good reference. I know, because so I hear Ramachandra, whether you're chanting 24 rounds per day or 16. You're looking at your escape tendencies. A quote we used yesterday in PPTC. There are no, also we use it on Sunday. We use that quote a lot. There are no, the only bad habit is escapism. if we look at all our toxic bad habits, it all comes from, I want to escape the pain of my experience rather than experiencing that pain and seeing what's the message there. So you're looking at your escapism, and I appreciate your vulnerability in that. And so chanting Hare Krishna is always pure and perfect and complete. And yeah, we can also use extra sadhana to escape grounded responsibility. So that's there too. And that's like Prabhupada recommended, okay, chant extra rounds if you'd like, and make sure you do at least 16. Again, if you want to seriously make progress every day, again, if we chant one mantra per day, it's wonderful. I know someone who recently, she decided to chant, she's going to chant 10 Maha Mantras per day. And that's working for her, and things like that. So whatever, same time Prabhupada gives his recommendation if we want to be serious in the process. And then, that can, because there's some, they might chant 64 rounds per day. Because then next year it's like, oh, I haven't chanted any for 4 months. So there's, it's better to be a steady moon rather than a shooting star. Melanie?
I was just thinking of how much on has comments.
Yeah.
16 rounds or 24 rounds, and how much on like share you escape. But then let's say that I continue to escape, and I escape throughout my life with the 8 additional rounds. There's no loss.
There's no loss there.
So if I escape without the 8 rounds, like say,
yeah,
there's a loss.
If I'm going to escape anyway, I might as well do it with 24.
Yeah, and then if I keep escaping and I keep that strategy for escaping, which is increase my sadhana on my rounds, what's the harm in that?
Yeah. Let's not criticize extra rounds.
Yeah, there's no
True.
harm there.
Yeah, that's why I felt.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
I think he cut him.
Okay.
He's frozen.
Thank you. Right, yeah. So sadhana, this remembrance of Krishna, it's meant to enhance our presence. It's meant to enhance our groundedness, enhance our commitment to excellence in all areas of life. You could see that with Srila Prabhupada. So he was, of course, internally always remembering Krishna, impeccable in sadhana, of course, and kind of I never saw a more scrupulous accountant than Prabhupada. Okay? Apart from his ecstasies and singing Jagai and Madhai and writing so many books, just accounting, just really scrupulous.
Every penny.
Right, every penny. And he said he learned from his mother, his mother, if even a grain of rice drop. No, we need to, we don't want to waste even a grain of rice. So Prabhupada was like that with every penny, and nothing for himself, but I don't want to waste a penny, outside of Krishna service. So very grounded, practical, and that remembrance of Krishna, if we're doing it in right consciousness, it enhances our sense of sattvic responsibility and presence, and presence. Of course, we can misuse it for escapism, but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the extra rounds. Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.